Cabeza de Vaca. In June of 1527, another Spanish expedition set sail for the New World. An explorer named Panfilo de Narvaez led a crew of more than 400 men to Florida. Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca was his second in command. In 1528, the crew was caught in a violent storm in the Gulf of Mexico. Most of the 250 men and all of the horses were lost. In November, the surviving crew washed up on present-day St. Louis Island, near present-day Galveston, Texas. The men named the island Malando, which means misfortune. These survivors were the first Europeans to walk on Texas soil. One of the survivors, Cabeza de Vaca, decided to take charge of the expedition. The men had a hard time living in this strange land. They were taken in by the Karankawa American Indians, who fed the men, clothed them, and gave them shelter. The explorers were rescued in 1536, but only 4 of the original 400 were alive. Cabeza de Vaca was one of these survivors. He brought an amazing story back home to Spain. The name Cabeza de Vaca means head of a cow in Spanish. Nobody knows the real story behind his name. One legend says that an ancestor used the skull of a cow to mark a pass for Christian soldiers during the Crusades. The soldiers defeated the Muslim Moors, but historians now know that this story is false. Europeans brought foreign diseases to the New World, including measles, smallpox, and whooping cough. These germs spread quickly through the American Indian population. The American Indians had no resistance to the germs. Unlike the other conquistadors, Cabeza de Vaca favored diplomacy over conquest. He lived among the American Indians in Texas for 8 years, studying their culture. The more he learned about the people he met, the more he respected them. Cabeza de Vaca played many roles while living with the American Indians. Sometimes he was a captive, held against his will. Other times he was a medicine man, a missionary, and even a surgeon. He was also the first European merchant in Texas. The American Indians believed that Cabeza de Vaca had healing powers. They would bring sick people to him. He would blow on their skin, make the sign of the cross above them, and pray. Many American Indians claimed that the white man healed them. Cabeza de Vaca, who was Catholic, gave the credit to God. When Cabeza de Vaca returned to Spain, he began writing about his years in Texas. He published a book titled La Relación. He gave the king his book as a gift. Many other Spanish people read it too. Other explorers were inspired by his thrilling stories. People began to flock to Texas. Cabeza de Vaca studied the land, plants, and animals in Texas. He was the first person to write about American bison. At first, he mistook them for cattle. Cabeza de Vaca operated on an American Indian man. The man had an arrowhead lodged in his body near his heart. Cabeza de Vaca took out the arrowhead and stitched up the man. This is believed to be the first surgery by a European in the American Southwest. The Texas Surgical Society chose Cabeza de Vaca as their patron saint. One of the most popular stories Cabeza de Vaca told in his book was the legend of the 7 cities of Cibola. Cabeza de Vaca had heard the tale from his American Indian friends. According to the story, 7 beautiful cities overflowed with riches in Cibola. Cabeza de Vaca traveled with a Moroccan slave named Esteban. The 2 men claimed there were great cities in the southwest. They said they saw grand stone buildings made of silver and turquoise. No one knows whether the men were lying or if they made a genuine mistake, but many of Cabeza de Vaca's countrymen were thrilled by the story. They were hungry for gold and jewelry and were excited to find Cibola. In 1539, the Viceroy of New Spain sent a missionary named Father Marcos de Niza. to find the cities. Esteban served as his guide. In modern-day New Mexico, Esteban came upon the pueblos of the Zuni tribe. These multi-story buildings were made of adobe and mica. The mica made the buildings sparkle and shine. The Zunis killed Esteban, and the rest of the group fled. Back in Mexico City, Father Niza claimed he had seen the sparkling cities of Cibola. Esteban was born in the North African country of Morocco. He was a Moor. The Moors were nomadic people of Arabian heritage. They were Muslims. Esteban was sold into slavery at a young age. He went with his master on the fateful Navarrete expedition. Esteban was the first person of African heritage to visit America. Cabeza de Vaca was a Spanish explorer from the 1500s. He is known as the first European to set foot in Texas. His stories of the 7 cities of gold sparked an interest in exploration of the New World for all Europeans to come.